All right, so it is a little past 6. I imagine most people will come around 6:03, 6:05. I'll just talk a little bit about the Ally Center, not the most basic as I see. Let's see here. Perhaps some familiar names. Well, actually, mostly unfamiliar. That's great. So most of you I don't know. You don't have to. We won't go around and introduce ourselves. Maybe during the Q&A, if you have specific questions or something that you're dealing with in any time management, writing, all those things. My name is Nick Eberly, and I was an LBC grad in 2018 with Biblical Studies bachelor's degree. 2020, I graduated with master's in biblical studies, and I studied apologetics with Dr. Farnham. I don't know if, well, he wouldn't teach, he does not teach any online courses as far as I'm aware. And from 2018 to 2020, I worked in the Ally Center in Lancaster. So that's where I got my start there. And if all things go well, in about 2 or 3 months, I will graduate from Westchester University with a degree in philosophy of religion. I have involvement in ministry it is a group organization that readies or trains people for international response. So we have a few team members in Ukraine, and that's about as intense as it gets. So I teach some of the core Bible courses there. All right, so that's enough about me. As far as the Ally Center, things you may not be aware of, I'm always happy to do, you might say, oh, an hour is too much, or I really just have one very specific question, like a student today. I'm not against phone calls. I'm not against a quick chat. That can be quite productive. However, an hour over Zoom for an assignment is pretty much required. Yeah, just where I'm also open to shooting an email, or text, those sorts of things. So yeah, that is the Ally Center in person, and many of you probably are online. So tonight's topic is time management habits of successful students. Most of this material is taken from, or at least one of the main principles here is taken from someone I worked with in LBC Ally Center in Lancaster. And yeah, so I will go over that in just a second. This workshop with Q&A, I don't imagine running more than 30 or 45 minutes at most. So we're going to manage our time well, and we're not going to I'm not too long-winded, I hope. Okay, so here are our 3 principles. I'm not offended if you interrupt. I tend to talk fast or a lot, and I want to really get into these 3 principles, these 3 habits. And really what these 3 habits are doing, sometimes people have learning gaps, parts where they don't understand, and it makes the whole subject or topic very difficult, or something is missing. This could be 3 perhaps time management gaps in your life, or at least they were in my life. And I think they're fairly common. And if we work on these 3 areas, we can really make a lot of inefficiency go away. So I've tried to come up with some interesting names. Timing out to tune up is our first one. And then compromising to win, which sounds counterproductive, but it's not. And number 3, taking time to save time. So those are somewhat vague, but the idea is in all 3 of these, we're doing something where we're setting aside time in the beginning so that throughout the process, we're actually being much more efficient. So I'm going to start with probably the most prevalent one for me, and possibly for you, which is timing out to tune up. So, I would imagine all of us are maybe employed, work in ministry. You might have a family, and your actual time is already maxed out. And when you do have time to study, you get this sort of feeling like, my mind is not here. I don't want to do it. I am feeling your productivity is down because your mind is somewhere else. And this is according to some scientific studies done. In order to move that away, in order to move all the work thoughts, ministry thoughts, what I would call the general cycle of just stress and that same reoccurring responsibility, thinking about that, According to various studies that were done, you need to remove that from your bandwidth. Like it's too much, taking up too much of your bandwidth to actually sit down and do something completely different that you probably have been doing all day. So what we're talking about is 4 different scientifically proven things that can help you push that away, like a PowerPoint slide. That's gone, and you reset to some degree, at least, to study. So here is a very simple one. If you come home or wherever you go, if you're around other people, you want to limit work chat at home. And I don't know about you, but the first time I see someone who's willing to listen, and I had an issue at work or in an organization where there's lots of people, there might be possibility for tension and arguments, or things go well or things don't go well. My first reaction is just to kind of spill out all the things that happened. And if that's the case in your home, there's someone who's finally actually going to listen to you, and it's not up people perhaps taking your time, that can happen. However, it takes some discipline to limit that chat about work, and just turn that off. So difficult to do, but I've found in little ways it can be very, very helpful in the long run. Whoops, and that's the top question, a little out of order there. So this one is, it's not a suggestion. They weren't making a suggestion. They were making a requirement to lower that bandwidth, the amount of space things are taking up in your life. They said, don't use your phone apps between work and school. So that time when you clock out, or however you leave your work, the time you open that book, or perhaps it's vice versa, or however your day goes, where, in this time I can just turn off my phone. And I got rid of a social media app, and I miss it, as in a sense I don't have something to fiddle with or distract myself, but that can be a great way to reset your brain, or at least let your brain go into idle mode for a little while. Very difficult because emails are always coming, this app, that app, news is always happening. So that one is another step of discipline and resetting your mind. So for me, these 2 things don't exactly reset my mind, but what does for many people, if you're experiencing stress, recommended by psychologists that you engage daily in some exercise, depending on who you are and what level of stress and kind of what you're used to and what you like, that may look like different things. For some people, it's very extreme weightlifting, sort of really getting any frustration or stress out. And mostly it's just reinvigorating the body. Different chemicals tend to, the endorphins, resetting certain functions in the brain and in the body, shifting that focus from my brain is at work to my body's in gear has a very positive effect of, and now I come to my studying and my brain is at least somewhat clear, or is very clear. At least it helps a lot for me. So don't exactly know what that is for you, but find that, know how long and how far you have to go until your brain, due to our biology, chemistry, whatever, till it is reset. And for me, I know it takes a good 20 minutes to really reset. And maybe you're not going for peak performance, you're not rock climbing, but you are going for relaxation. So I'll leave that application with you. This one, I absolutely was like, I don't think I could ever do that. But for some of you, this might be helpful. This is also, this was coming off of Indeed. This was they did some sort of study, and they said specifically, if you're trying to focus and you're not really maybe up for it, use a diffuser to give off a new smell. So a new odor in some way caused you to have more focus, more concentration. And I've never tried this. I'm kind of curious, but that is what the science says. So go ahead and try that one out. I don't have a diffuser, but a new smell. So you might think that's strange, but often changing your setting, I know, can help you concentrate. So yeah, I don't know if anyone has ever tried that. All right. So that is our first, I guess, principle. How do I reset? Limit that work chat, stay away from phone apps, exercise, relaxing or peak performance way until you feel that reset, the focus from mind shifted to body, which can take a load off, and also creative ways, such as using a new smell. Okay, we're now going to go. Feel free to chime in if you have any thoughts or question. This one, I think, is the way, or is one that I've applied a number of times throughout the past few weeks. Compromising to win. So, what to do when I just can't study? You might not even be necessarily tired or stressed out. You might just have that feeling, I can't do this. My mind is not in that gear. I don't want to do it, actually. And when I think about it, it just makes me stress at it. And when I think about the even just sitting down and reading or typing, oh, it just gives me a headache just thinking about it, which is kind of ridiculous, because our perception is that, oh, I can't do that. If I did do that, I would be miserable. But I should do that, so I should be miserable. So it's like a lose situation. It's a lose-lose situation. My perception, however, is very wrong. So you say, what do I do in that situation? I'm working on this paper right now, and it is a topic I don't care about anymore because it's been such a long project, or I care about it. It's just more difficult to just get back in the gear. And I'm saying today's not a writing day. Today is a day off. You do that long enough, your brain just says, well, yeah, we're not doing that right now. We're not in gear. That's not a habit. And that neural pathway, whatever is gone. So what do we want to do? We want to compromise with the perception side, which is wrong. We perceive things wrong. Maybe we do have this sense of I've done enough and I'm so tired of hitting the books, but we have this obligation side. And so what we do is we compromise. And you could say, well, that doesn't sound like the right thing to do. Well, it's certainly better than doing nothing. And it's not fulfilling your full obligation, but it's doing more than just 5 minutes in a sense. So you do 5 minutes of the paper, you get it done, and you leave, and that's all you're going to do. And you say, what does that accomplish? Well, you've got over the threshold, you've taken that initial step, your brain goes, we're writing now, and that becomes a habit. So to make a habit of even just 5 minutes that first day is very important. And eventually you get the perception goes away that this is going to cause me to be miserable. And you type a paragraph or whatever, you read it, a chapter, and you feel a sense of accomplishment that I beat that false perception. I get out of the rut. And every day, even if I just did 5 minutes on Monday, 5 minutes on Tuesday, habits begin to form. And it's important not to drop the ball as in moving through your week, because I know that it's very easy as a student to just push off until there's an actual, until the obligation becomes so strong that I just have to do it. And that is actually miserable. If we instead, we need to be disciplined, and we need to at times compromise in order not to lose that situation. So the barrier can be removed. And I found this, that I had a 5 minute day, and then the next day I typed, I got in it, I saw an error and I corrected it. Then I went on to the next thing. Oh, I should look that. And before you know it, you can be back on track, and you can do that whole thing for an hour, because that's kind of how our minds work. If we get over that original false perception, 5 minutes per compromise. What it's doing is it's saying, I studied today, and then therefore I can study tomorrow. So that is a principle I didn't come up with, but it is very helpful, because I know students fall behind because they can justify, or I can justify, look at all the things I did today, therefore I don't have to study today, and we can fall even a few weeks behind. Okay, so about we're at the 15-minute mark. So we'll go through our final one. Hopefully I'm not going too fast. If there's anything you would like me to clarify, please let me know. So compromising to win. In the end, our two fighting push and pull and kind of a tug of war is a perception of studying as being miserable or impossible versus the obligation. And eventually we want those two to compromise and come together, and eventually we begin to form a habit. All right, so the final one is definitely a, how should I say, not a hobby horse. It's something that I think about a lot. And when I finally got to this place where I realized that, oh, you can actually do the end of something first, even though no one ever wants to do the end thing first. And what I'm talking about specifically is the preparation part of a paper. And that's that bold phrase is really what I want you to remember. So let's say I have a paper due on Saturday and it is Monday. I open up a blank document. I do the whole MLA header. I do a title or make something up. And then I just sit there and I stare at the screen. I write a few sentences and then I stare at the screen. And I'm just kind of pulling things out of my head about, well, various things. So you can kind of do that. Most people can come up with something at first. However, you don't have any actual material. At my graduation, someone quoted the phrase, "Don't bother sitting around trying to come up with good ideas. Read a book, they're full of them." I was like, well, that's definitely true. Material from other people is a lot easier than material from yourself. Because I hate to break it to you, you're not the best scholar in the world, and you're not writing best-selling books yet. So what does this mean? As is the case in any assignment that involves citations or sources, I should say, we have to research first. So we get all this material, and then we have something to work with. But the first thing we do when we find a good source is hit the cite button. Like, what are you talking about? I'm specifically talking about the Lancaster Bible College library page. Even if you're using a database, if you're familiar with Atla or anything like that, even Google often will have, if you're searching through their books or something like that, they will have this thing called the cite button. And right there it is. So what happens if I find this book, Christianity and Roman Society? I was looking through it. It's a good book. I want to use it. Do I read it and then get all this information, quote it, cite it, done, throw it away? I have done that before, and I have to go back through my search history of the library and try to find the book. And it is probably the biggest time waster of students, is recreating a works cited or a bibliography that they could have created in the beginning. But it is a habit you have to get into. And it also can be a bit, how should we say, tedious or annoying when you think, oh, I can just do that at the end. I remember trying to piece together and trying to find all my sources I use for a paper. It can take an hour or two, especially if you don't, like most people, or pretty much all people, know how to make a citation out of memory, because there's so many pieces to get it correct. Okay, so how can we save that 10 minutes each time? Or even people use citation machines, EasyBib and all that, and those take a lot of time too. So I hit the cite button, and there it is. I changed this here to MLA 9th edition. If you're using APA, you change that to APA, and it gives me Clark, Gilligan, and italicized year. Insert missing database. Oh, that's something I didn't see very much, but the database is, if you look, let's go back. EBSCOhost. Whoops. If I actually open it up, it will go to that's a database. So that one is involved in a database. Okay. Anyway, so this is an edit. You can edit it to include the EBSCOhost or whatever database. So if I found it in ATLA, ATLA, I would just put in capital ATLA, and that's all it would be, followed by a period, and then access the 6th of February, 2023. Now, you would have wanted to look at this. You don't want to turn it in because it's missing a little piece. For some reason, it didn't pick up exactly what search engine I found it in. So you want to actually check it and see if there's anything that looks out of place. So then I take that below this, there's a copy button. I hit the copy button, it goes to my clipboard, and then I just put it on a Word document, which will eventually be my works cited. So you can save 2 hours by doing this process in the very beginning. So now copy and paste your citation. And also, if you're going through an ebook, here I'm on page 45. Up here, I'll have the author. I'll have the drive, or the search engine, or the database if I had the whole picture. And I can copy it and paste it directly to a Word document. However, include the page number, include the author in a citation. I have a document that's just called sources, or it could just, well, eventually it'll be your paper. You just take all the quotes you want out of that book as you've read through. Maybe these are different chapters here. And let's say I am writing about the end of gladiator sports in Roman culture. So I read that chapter, which is 5-10 pages long. I take all the quotes I want, I put them on the Word document, and I've just given myself some very good material to work with, and I can put those together with my own words, and there I've got a good paper, or at least the start of one. All right, so now I can begin typing my own words at the very beginning of that blank document. I write my draft, and I can get feedback if I need it from the Ally Sender, because when you have 1 page left or half page left, you don't want to inflate your writing. You want to get feedback to grow what you already have. All right, so what are we saying? We're saying, or what am I saying? I'm saying hit the cite button, create your works cited first, then get quotes, and then start typing. Now, that preparation could take an hour, but it will speed up, we could say, or it will dramatically increase the quality and decrease the amount of time staring at the screen. So that's something that is a very effective habit of successful students, is to hit the cite button first before throwing away the source and having to find it later. So that's a mini writing lesson right there. And that is my third and final point on on habits of successful students, taking time to make time. So at this time, we're about 24 minutes in. Got plenty of time. Does anyone have, or who has a question regarding time management in general, or something specific in this presentation?
I have a question. Time management in that area. I find it difficult when I have a lot of reading to do. It's like I have 2 classes and all the reading is given to you at the same time. And you might have 3 or 4 different things to read. And it's like, how do you, I've been trying to manage it and try to figure out what's the easy way to do it. Just to give me some ideas on that. Because I'm trying different things, but a lot of reading is a lot of reading.
Yes. So if you're reading something, first of all, you need to know what is the author proving, or what is the author's, not just topic, but their direction in this chapter. And you might not know that till well into reading the chapter. And you also probably aren't remembering every single detail. So a simple method, there is my co-tutor Liz, has some excellent reading strategies that you can meet with her. But what I've found to be a quick and something that you can remember is read the introduction of that chapter, or perhaps it's just a few pages, however much you feel like you can digest, so to speak, of that reading. What you're doing in the introduction, they're going to give you a pretty good snapshot of what the topic is. Then as you skim through, you kind of look at the first sentence of every paragraph. And if you write like a good writer, you put your thesis in the introduction, and then each paragraph starts off with, this is kind of if I'm paraphrasing it, I'm going to tell you this, then they tell you it, and then they go into another paragraph and they do it again. So I've tried this with students, and it's effective in that after reading the first sentence of every paragraph, in that maybe often 3-4 pages, you go, oh, the author's thesis, the author is trying to prove that gladiators in ancient Rome were for entertainment or something like that. Then you could say, well, that's a lot of work. Yes, but when you go back and read it through, you know what the author's proving, so you have like a hook to hang that chapter on. Now, the best thing you can do is scratch out or write out. It doesn't even have to be like organized or anything. The main idea of that chapter, so that when you look at all those little forward summaries of each chapter or group of pages, you go, I get it. I understand that part. I remember that part. So that's kind of along our theme, which is I'm not going to read for an hour and not remember anything about the chapters. I'm going to look at this chapter and find what the author is proving. Then all the details that follow after that just kind of reinforce that idea, add clarity, and so on. So I hope that's helpful. That's how I would organize reading. Reading to me is frustrating, specifically in heavy topics in the Old Testament, when I feel overwhelmed by details. But if I have a structure, that reading is not overwhelming. Yes, Dr. McClellan.
Just wanted to throw something out as well. You may want to take a note, like if you're reading for a purpose and you're reading a whole bunch of stuff, just grab a key point. It may be a full sentence, it may be a couple of words, but just write that down, because then if you're not answering specific questions, at least when you get if you look at a paragraph and you write a sentence or two, look at another paragraph, you write a sentence or two, you're grabbing the most important points, and then you don't have to go through and read that whole thing over again. Okay. Just flyer too, in a couple of weeks, we're going to do an actual workshop on reading and comprehension with our reading specialists. So be on the lookout for that. But Nick gave you some great advice. But yeah, you're reading for a purpose, because it is a tremendous amount of reading, you know, and it's like, you know, you just want to like curl up and put the book away, and, you know, and it's still there. And so, like I said, if you can find a way of capturing the moment with what you're reading, and like I said, I don't care if it's little doodles or have something familiar so that you could hold on to it, you know, draw a little picture. It says, I read this, and I don't have to go back through that. It makes sense? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you both. That helped.
And when will you have that reading comprehension class?
We are actually, Nick, it's March, right? I'm looking at, we were going to do it at the end of February, but since the semester is almost over, we said, you know what? Let's look at when the next subterm starts. Let's look at the first or second week. So Nick's going to have a list of everybody that participated tonight. And so we will certainly reach out to you. Okay. But yeah, we hired a reading specialist who actually has skills in literacy as well with writing, because we recognize that there's just a whole lot of writing in college. And if you're not reading, you're writing. And if you're not writing, you're reading. And if there's a way like you can make it simpler, then, you know, we want to be able to support that effort that you're going through. So at least you're reading for meaning and content, and being more efficient in your reading. Okay, so as I said, we're looking probably at the first or second week of March, when your next subterm starts, as opposed to doing it at the end where someone says, well, gee, I needed this at the beginning of the subterm. Okay, so we're going to let you get through this one, and then that just keep your eyes out in your emails and your what's the thing that you send through the
Mongoose.
Mongoose. Yeah, keep your eyes open. You'll be getting something.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Nick, can I just say one other thing too? If you're struggling with something individually and you don't say, well, listen, I need help right now, you can always make an appointment. Okay, you can always make an appointment with Nick. You can always make an appointment with Liz. There are other Ally Center people as well. You can also make an appointment with me if that's what you want to do. Because what we don't want you to do is we don't want you to struggle with something the whole time and then not get the help that you need.
Robert, go ahead.
Yes, the access to the Philadelphia campus Deliverance is like, do I always have to make an appointment to come there? Or is it,
So
you know?
yeah, so you want to have your ID, your LBC ID,
Mhm.
to get it, and as their security there. But you can come in and use our computer lab and our library anytime you want. You just sign in as personal study time. Yes, that
Okay.
would be excellent, just to be there. There's often, well, there might be a tutor there if you have a quick question. That's what we're there for. It's very time well spent. So yes, it is accessible.
Thank you.
Okay, someone else, I think, raised their hand.
Dr. McClinton, looks like your hand is up.
Oh, your
Oh,
hand.
you know what,
okay.
that was, that's really funny because I never lowered it. And so now I'm seeing this message down here that says lower hand. So I'm going to lower my hand. That's funny.
Do you have virtual appointments
Yeah,
if you
Yeah,
need an
so-
appointment?
absolutely.
Yeah, so
Yeah, Nick.
yeah,
Okay, so-
pretty much, yeah, Monday through Friday, for sure 3 to 7 p.m. And then also there's 2 p.m. Appointments throughout the earlier part of the week as well. So yeah, people often sign up for virtual appointments on Fridays even. That's fine, or that's welcomed. So yeah, there's plenty of flexibility. Also, I have there's another tutor as well as Dr. McClinton, who is a wide variety of office hours. So yes, you just go to our website. Can send you the link for that. But it's what's the fastest way to get there for them, Dr. McClinton? Just
I think the fastest way for them to get there would be to go to their page and
right, yes.
look for available appointments. But technically, basically Ally is open in Philadelphia, but meaning global too, from 10 to 7, Mondays through Thursdays. But then, as Nick says, he will accommodate some Friday hours. And as I said, if you go and actually look at like available appointments, you'll see their schedule. In addition to other tutors, their schedule will come right up. But like if there's somebody that you've connected with and you want to make a specific appointment, or for example, if you go look at my schedule, you won't see any appointments on my schedule. But if you want to meet with me specifically because you're having I just really want to talk this particular thing through, I do have some time in my schedule where I meet with students as well. It's rmcclinton@lbc.edu. I would, as I said, but in their specific roles, they will actually have like hours on the schedule where you can actually go and make an appointment.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I kind of appreciate that question because when I went on there, it was only offering in person. It kind of threw me for a loop because I thought we could do online. So is it specific lessons or classes that we can only do online? Because when I was looking for online, it just said in person. And then it tells you, you know, I think when it confirms it, and it tells you to click on the icon, which is a person, but it didn't have an icon for online. So that was definitely a good question. I think that was Marilyn that asked that. Sister Marilyn, was that you? So yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing, but.
I mean, I think the worst case scenario, because, you know, Track Cloud is a newer iteration of what we used to do before. And so when all else fails, you can reach out to one of us personally.
Okay.
Okay. But there, or if, like I said, if you want to do something specific to Philly, you can do Philly ally at lbc.edu, and it'll
Got
come to
you.
my inbox. If you want to do something specific to Lancaster, okay, like
Got
each of those groups, you can actually, outside of the going on and looking at the schedule, because if the only way you get to do a Philly appointment live is that you're actually in Philly, right? But if you're in Georgia, it's going to be virtual. If you're in Tennessee, it's going, and that's, I think that's the real cool thing about global, is that we can be where you are, you know? So yeah, as I said, you can reach out to Nick. And as he showed you there, Ally Philly at lbc.edu, because that's actually going to come to my inbox. But what I'm saying is LBC has in the global space, they've got a good number of people. There's Golden, there is Chantel. There's a whole host of people that are there to support you.
Is it all right for me to screenshot this?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
Logging in and out from the mobile app, is that like security that it says that you can click on it, it doesn't show you, you don't have to sign in every time, but it seems like you have to sign in every time. Is that just a security measure for us so that nobody can just come in, you know, if they get our information, they can just come right into the sites?
You mean into Canvas or?
Yeah,
Track.
so if I go on Lancaster and I click on the portal student, it sometime it opens right up to the dashboard where I can click on Canvas, Ally, email. But
Mhm.
when the next one, it has me sign in, and then it'll come up and say, if you don't want to see this again, click here, and then click, you know, yes, eliminate how many times you have to sign in, but I always have to sign in.
Yes, so for me, I often just have to click on, since I have 2 Outlook accounts. I don't know if you have, maybe for your work or church or anything. That's the
Yeah.
issue with me. So I just click on the one. It usually doesn't rarely ask for my password. It just asks me to click on which email.
Okay.
If you use a different Outlook on your laptop or something, that I know that can really, because I have different ones, I know that can mess it up.
Okay.
And things like that. That could be part of it, but I'm not exactly sure. You could, you could have an appointment or ask or email IT or the help desk, but I'm not entirely sure. Other than I know that different Outlook accounts can kind of play with it, mess it up.
Well, when I do know, I will say that when I downloaded the Outlook app on my mobile phone, now if I click on it, it takes me right in to my
Okay.
email. So that works for me. So I would just add one to, you know, because sometimes, you know, we're in a time where you got your phishing emails and all those type of things. So I thought maybe, okay, nope, you just got a lot. You got to, every time you come in, even though it says you don't have to, you need to log in. But it's okay. Just checking.
Yeah, you probably could search the internet for some answers, but yeah, I'd be curious to know why that is.
That's amen in sign language.
All right. Any more questions? You're welcome to stay around. I'm going to hang out here for a little bit, but that's all the content I have, unless Dr. McClinton has anything else to say. But feel free to ask questions, send email to there's my personal email, and also to the general email, which goes to Dr. McClinton. And there's also my phone extension. So you can get a voicemail, leave a voicemail, or call me that way. So yeah, that's what I got. Thank you so much for coming out, and I appreciate having an audience for my first webinar, at least.
Great job.
Thank you.
Looking for the,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thanks to both of you for all your help.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
We're a phone call or Zoom away. Just keep that in mind. You're not out there by yourself. All righty?
Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's good to know that you stand by that too, because we know how just life is, life happens, and we'll say we're there for you. We're there for you. So far, you guys are always there. So thank
That's
you.
cool. I mean, again, guys, I'm going to tell you this, it's not easy. You know, you guys got a whole lot of stuff going on, and especially like if you're not close to a campus and you're just in cyberspace, you just want to feel like you can connect. And so I think, we're moving more to in addition to our sites, but just really creating a space online too, so that folks feel that, whether it's a webinar or, whatever we're offering, or I just want to make an appointment just to, get a bit of mentoring, we're actually there. And because I think that's the thing that really strengthens your experience. I mean, to get somewhere and then turn around and there's nobody to support you, that's not the best experience. So again, we really do try to do that. And as I said, Ally has really good resources where people, again, they just want to facilitate creating that experience for you. And that's like, whether it's Lancaster or DC, or people who are just, that grad students that work, but the whole goal is to help. That really is our goal. So.
Dr. McClinton and Nick, this is Jacqueline Boyd, and I would like to thank the both of you for your encouragement and support. And thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
You're
Dr.
welcome.
McClinton, now I will be returning in March. I couldn't get away from it.
Hey, listen, we love repeat customers. Sometimes you got to pull back, but again, it's a compliment that you would step back into that river and flow with us. So we look forward to supporting you.
Okay, and thank y'all so much, and have a blessed night.
You too.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. And one other thing I will say, if there are suggestions that you guys have of things that you'd like to see, you can reach out to Nick. Because again, we're looking at just a variety. We want to give workshops or seminars or podcasts, whatever is going to support you, have you feel that there's a community, whether you find yourself in Georgia or Mexico or wherever, and like I can reach out and talk to a person on the other end to get some help. In addition to your professors. I mean, we really celebrate the fact too, that the professors are there and they've got the, the thing that they will do, the tutoring, that support, but we really are a village, and try to make sure that each group like works together to support you guys.
I appreciate it. I have a
Absolutely.
question about I have something that I need to do, which is called a pechacucha. And I was wondering if somebody in your office is versed on doing a pechacucha, and if I can make an appointment with somebody to kind of go over it, because it's my final project and I want to make sure that I get it right.
Nick, you familiar with that?
Well,
I think I've heard it before in assignments. It's kind of like a PowerPoint or something.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Yeah. I think I know what you mean. What course is it for?
Life in Christ.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you can set up an appointment with me. I did that with a student however many months ago. So yeah.
Okay. So I'll call you or figure out this thingy here on the,
Yeah. Yeah, email me if you're having trouble.
okay. All right, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Everybody have a good night.
You too.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, God bless.
All right.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, thank you.